Café Anyway.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
It's Mike's Daily Podcast, the name of this podcast, because it's daily. We've been doing it since 2011. The show called Mike's Daily Podcast. It's episode 2882. But if I should be clear, I've been podcasting, let's see, since the year 2009, when nobody was doing it. We didn't have apps to make it easy to listen to. Now people blown past the podcast, and now that's what they're interested is the viewing. Mike's Daily Podcast. The visuals, the videos of the podcast. But that's not what this is. It's a listen thing. Unless you're over on my Facebook page. Podcast. Mike'sDailyPodcast.com. Yeah. /Facebook. Is that it? Well, you can get to it through Mike'sDailyPodcast.com, and you can watch me. Occasionally, I will go live on, Facebook.com. Well, you didn't hear this unless you went to my Facebook page just now, but everything just stopped. My recording just stopped. So I went on for about 25 minutes, and none of that got recorded. I talked something about Fitbit, that I lost my Fitbit one time walking the late great Basil the Boxer, and I spent $99 on it, and then I called the guy, or I emailed the guy who started Fitbit, one of the guys, because this was early on, so you were able to email them back then. Now they're super, I think, rich, and they sold it off to Apple or something. But back then I said, hey, would you like to be on the podcast? And I can interview you. And in exchange, you give me a new Fitbit. He said, no, you know what? I don't like being on podcasts. I don't like being interviewed. Here, I'm just going to send you a Fitbit anyway. So I got it replaced. And I think I talked all about that because of this necklace that texts you, and it costs $99. And it's called Friend. And you should trust anything in the tech world that has the word friend in it. No, you shouldn't. Friendster, wasn't that a thing that competed against Facebook?
And here's today's podcast picture.
The podcast picture is of the beautiful sunset that we had recently when the storms were happening in the upper atmosphere, and the rain would evaporate before it came down, and there was an interesting sky over PodCastro Valley. You can see that picture at Mike'sDailyPodcast.com. So this is an AI pendant that's always listening and sends you texts based on what it overhears. That doesn't sound creepy. It's the necklace that sends you encouraging or playfully teasing texts. That's right, the late great Basil the Boxer and I, we walked everywhere. The more I travel and walk around the Bay Area, the more I realize I walked him all over the place, the late great Basil the Boxer. In other interesting tech sort of things, Google's X Labs has introduced MoGo pants, MO/GO pants, which stands for mountain goat. They are motorized pants. They give your legs a boost with a lightweight electric motor on the knee. And the pant makes you feel up to 30 pounds lighter. So you've got your motorized bikes, your motorized scooters, your electrified skateboards. I saw a guy skateboard past me today on a electrified skateboard. Now you've got electrified pants. Does not sound safe in the rain. And you wouldn't want to be in an electric boat when it sinks. I heard from a politician.
Life grand.
All right. You know what's grand is getting food delivered to yourself, or is it? But the prices are going up. Delivery apps like Grubhub, DoorDash, and Uber Eats are getting so big. Ordering is complicated. It's a complicated equation of service fees, delivery costs, and worker tips all together. That consumers are saying that the check on delivery apps is 20% higher than what it is if you go to the restaurant, just going there to buy it. Do you know who's the biggest out of the three? DoorDash. It generated nearly $50 billion in sales. Uber Eats brought in, that was last year, and then Uber Eats brought in less, $15 billion. DoorDash 50, Uber Eats 15, and Grubhub has over 375,000 restaurants that work with them. Uber Eats and DoorDash get commissions between 15% to 30% off the total that you pay for on that order. So they're getting some bucks. And
what's the cliche of the week?
Oh, Uber Eats, by the way.
What's the cliche of the week?
They beat Grubhub.
What's the cliche of the week?
When it comes to restaurants, Grubhub
what's the cliche of the week?
Has 375,000. Uber Eats has 1 million merchants. If you don't want to pay the extra fees, you'll see something for $15, and then by the time the order gets to you, it's cost $25.
What's the cliche of the week?
Those three services,
what's the cliche of the week?
They will reduce the fees if you pay for a $10 membership.
What's the cliche of the week?
I mentioned Friendster. Of course, Facebook killed Friendster, but their stock has risen on strong earnings. They were up 22%. And that is... Their revenue was up 22%, and their earnings were up 73%. Wow. So daily active people, that rose 7% year over year. So they have something like 3.3 billion people that are daily active users. So their latest earnings report in the third quarter of this year, soon to be fourth quarter, we have this wonderful leaves and the pumpkins and the little kids in scary costumes.
News random.
In other news random, so they got 10% more ads. So they've raised prices on ads 10%. Their heavy investment in AI is helping them sell personalized ads. So when you're doing something like a Facebook Live thing on your Facebook page, facebook.com/Mike's Daily Podcast, they will suggest, hey, why don't you boost the access that people have to watching this, the viewership. Just simply pay for an ad. As we go outside of Café Anyway, where we bring you Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in Podcastro Valley, the last place on earth in the land of Meritopia. A lot of advertisers are shifting their budgets from television to Facebook's and Meta's platforms. And I don't really go on Facebook that much, so...
Mike's scavenger hunt.
I'm looking around here, and it says here that Meta stock is trading 20 times earnings for 2025. Okay, now I'm done with that. All that came from Rob Black. I produce his podcast. He is on AM 1220 KDOW weekday mornings in the 6 o'clock and the 8 o'clock hours. And then he is on Cron TV in the 9 o'clock hours, Monday through Thursday. Look who's outside of Café Anyway, somewhere in Podcastro Valley. Hi, Mark. It's Benita the Rodeo Queen. I'll do whatever I'm hosting. It's a disgruntled fiddle player. Tell you what. What? It really sucks when you do a show and then nobody hears it. It's like a tree that falls in the forest. Nobody sees it fall. So it didn't really fall, did it? Tell you what. What? Did the tree fall? Yeah, I had a tree fall and nobody saw it. Nobody heard it.
For your entertainment.
What?
The one.
Oh.
The only. Mike Matthews.
That's who I am. Oh, you know what then? Look who else is here. Pouring me some root beer.
Hello, Mike. I make delicious root beer. Have some right now. Drink it right now. Okay.
Thank you. I'm going to drink it. Oh, that's excellent. What's in it?
Yogurt.
I'm a what?
Yogurt.
Oh, yogurt. Gotcha. All right, next show, it's going to be the wonderful... Who's it's going to be on the next one? Madame Rootabega, Valentino, Bison Bentley. If all goes well, sounds good. Hey, I know I don't have a lot going on with me in my brain today on this podcast, so I'm going to wrap it up. Next show, though, we'll get to other things, and thank you for listening. Tell all your friends. If you'd like to call in and, comment, we'd love to hear your comment, not so comments. Here's the number to call.
Call Mike at the Café Anyway hotline. Area code 510-228-4640. Will ya shut ups? Liberty Nation Freedom Foam for All. Yo, the mic tip.
That's my tip. The number to call was that number that you just heard. 510-228-4640. Yes, we are in the East Bay area code. And with more ways to reach me, we go now to the mainframe and hear about all things Mike Steely podcast from A-Frame. Thank you for listening.
Wow, Shuts, wow.
Mike Steely Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at MikeSteelyPodcast.com. Email Mike now at MikeSteelyPodcast@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye.
You know what I forgot to mention? This was a palindrome episode. The last one we had was 2,772. And that was a long time ago. This one was 2,882. Yay. 2882. Palindrome. How cool. To find out how you can listen to all the past podcasts and see the past podcast pictures, go to MikeSteelyPodcast.com.